Hey guys, welcome to Currently Cringing. So today we have Susan. There's a lot to discuss. This is going to be multiple episodes, and hopefully you're going to be a big friend of the show based on your schedule. I know you're a busy lady.
Busy lady.
Yeah,
right?
you are. Kids are busy.
Kids are busy.
So we've created this dog background because we just wanted something happy, peaceful, cheerful.
Because we couldn't figure out anything else to put up there.
Couldn't figure out anything else. But okay, so you called me now 2 weeks ago and you're like, I want to record a podcast with you.
Right.
And I was shook because you're top 3 funniest people I know.
Oh.
Really.
Set me up for failure.
Yeah, no. But I'm like, okay, where is this coming from? And then you dropped a bomb on me, which we will get to. But before we get into all of that, tell the people, how did we meet?
How did we meet? So both of us were working at Tahari for a long time, for about 10 years. The grind was pretty miserable. We were gray and trying to figure out who we were and how to get where we wanted to be and where we wanted to be, and, you know, multiple Fraxel and clear and brilliant sessions later, you left me.
I left. I moved. I left New York in 2017, but you were probably my ride or die. Like when I sliced my palm open and needed stitches, you were at the ER with a Zephyr Hills bottle filled with vodka.
That's okay. Yep. That's
You've been there. Also, we are millennials, so we happen to come in black.
This was not
tees.
discussed. We're not
The Gen Z, already like aging myself. Gen Z makes fun of us for wearing black tops and jeans, and we've even brought our denim jackets. This is terrifying.
It's
But I bring that up because as millennials, a lot of us are entering our 40s or have just turned 40. So I'm turning 40 this year, and you are turning 41. And from then to now, you've been with the same person.
I have. So I met my now ex-husband, or separated husband, in 2009. And we got married in 2015. And we are now no longer together.
And that's what kind of prompted this?
That's 100% what prompted this. It's really difficult to be with someone for the majority of your adult life and then be like, holy shit, this is over. We're like, you're not going to be my best friend anymore. Like, we're done. We had 2 kids together. We sort of went through everything. I put antibiotic ointment on your MRSA ball.
I remember that.
I was there catching blood as it was falling out of your asshole, and like the worst hospital, like Beth Israel, like with like fucking chickens running around on the floor. I mean, they're just like, and then he just turned around one day and was like, bye, bitch. Wow. I should also probably tell you that when we met, he was morbidly obese, and is now no longer morbidly obese thanks to Mounjaro. And and like picked up his shit and moved downstairs.
We're going to get into this further. That was like a brief overview. So how old were you when you met Adam in 2009?
25.
25.
Right.
And I can sort of relate, and I know there's a meme going around now saying that when people tell you a story and then you bring up something familiar about yourself, that means you're a narcissist. I swear to God, I'm not a narcissist. I'm bringing this up because I was with someone for 12 years.
Isn't it just relating?
It's relating, that's what I would think, but now the kids are calling everything, those like buzzwords are now like trauma bond, narcissism. I was like, okay, everyone's gaslighting now.
You want?
I'm like, okay.
You want to know narcissist? I will explain narcissism to you. It's not narcissistic to find a common ground with someone.
That's all I was trying to do before everyone jumps on my throat.
Feels real good, actually. It feels like we share something. There's a common, there's a common thread there.
And I was with someone for 12 years, and you were there for a majority of that. I left that person because I went on for way too long. But you loved your husband so much, and I saw that. So you were 25 when you met him in 2009.
Right. I was 25, and like sort of like a borderline alcoholic, insane person. Like everyone in their 25 starving to death, just trying to like get through the day and then socially lubricate themselves so they don't feel like a terrified asshole in front of strangers. And that's sort of like so like that's what your early 20s are for. And then for me, mid and probably into late 20s. And now through this insane thing that has happened to me, I've realized that there are people in this world that you can love that are just not good for you. So.
Did that realization only come now?
No. I think there were a lot. No. I'm a vocal person. So this is not like, oh, I kept my mouth shut and then all of a sudden he left me. That's not.
No. If you know Susan, she's not keeping her mouth shut.
I'm not keeping my mouth shut ever.
No.
So no, there were a lot of things that were wrong. And I've always been this person, feel like you accept the good, you try and, just push the bad down as much as you can and not let it affect you. And then you ride or fucking die. Like that's how it goes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Especially after kids,
And we're loyal.
Loyal.
To a fault.
Right, to a fault. Until I realized like my whole life was revolved around him, taking care of him, making sure he was comfortable. He was always, if we had to go somewhere and we only had time where one of us could shower, he's the one that's showering. He's the one that's getting dressed. I'm the one that's like being squished over by a 400-pound man in a seat, okay, and like a plane seat, like, okay, like it's been a lot. I feel like I was bred to be this person. I feel
you're the most loving person I know. You're a caregiver.
I'm a caregiver.
And you don't want to be a caregiver.
I don't even mind being a caregiver, but
you're too nice.
I want to be a caregiver to my children now, and not to my husband, who's a grown man and doesn't really, do you need me to put fucking baby powder on your ass every day? Like, what the fuck?
And caregiver, but you also want that in return in some way.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Something,
exactly.
Man. Like, so, we did have a conversation because I have been the least ambitious person that has ever existed in the universe. I'm fucking tired. I was born tired. Out the womb, I was sleeping.
I think a lot of us are.
Yeah, just exhausted. And it's like, fuck, if I have to try and then it doesn't work out, it's just going to make me more tired. And I just can't. And then like, if I do try and it doesn't work out, where's my value lie? Is it nowhere? Like, what the fuck? Like, so many. And this is built into women.
Yes.
From birth.
But you have to start, and this is a start.
It's something. It's doing something. It's doing something that is not taking care of everyone else.
Around you.
Right.
Putting yourself first, maybe.
Kind of. Or just
not
like
even
having like a really fun time with a good friend. Doing what we've always done. Yeah, I know. It was great.
If there's anyone that I could talk to for hours who I feel could help so many people, it's you. And make everyone laugh.
Well, it's just because I don't hide anything ever. So
neither do I. I put it on a TV show.
Yeah, I have to, or else I feel like I am suffocating. It's like, I don't know how people hide shit from the world.
I don't know.
It's like, I have heart palpitations thinking about it.
When you called me and told me that things might end with your husband, I was shocked you were so open and comfortable with telling people. So many people are ashamed.
Because it's the immediate, and I was too. It's the immediate, the second he was like, nope, I'm out. I was like, I couldn't breathe. I was panicking. I was going to throw up on the floor. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But a big chunk of that was, what are people going to think? Fuck, right. What are people going to... I was like, so if I don't immediately call every person I know and scream it from the rooftops, I'm going to have this feeling. I'm going to have multiple panic attacks day after day until it comes out. So I was like, fuck it, let's just do it. Yeah, and it did help.
And it's better
Honestly.
than people coming up to you and acting weird. Maybe they
Yes.
heard it from the grapevine.
Oh my God.
Versus you just telling them straight up.
Right. And then there's an element of pity when you try and hide something where you're
Yes.
like, oh my God, that could be the worst feeling in the world. You can't pity me. I'm going to die. Like, it's just not worth it. It's just not. You know what I mean? Like, just ask me anything. It's fucking time. And I need to get it out.
I think you're going to help a lot of people. And I hate to put it this way, but because we're millennials, and I said this, a lot of us are entering 40, but because there are 2 or more groups of millennials, okay? There are the ones that are still single, never been married. There's a big group of those people. A lot of them are my friends.
Right.
Then there's the batch that got married later.
Right.
And then there's the batch that got married in the right timeline.
Right.
And are now heading into divorce or still like trying to make it work. And I kind of have this pessimistic view on how never trust men.
Right.
And
I never did.
exactly. But I find that interesting because your father.
So my father
Okay.
was 23 years my mother's senior.
You have to tell everyone the story.
I will. She was his secretary. He was married with 2 kids. She was married, no children, but to sort of like a psychopath. And my father basically like, I love my father, but groomed this poor woman, married her. They had 3 kids, stayed together until he was dead. But I think there's also an element of, again, exhaustion, where it's like, actually, I'm kind of shit. Like, I'm kind of a cheating, lecherous old man. But now I'm so tired that I just can't, like, I can't gather the strength to go up and find strange puss. Like, I just can't do it. Like, I just need to, like, sleep and eat and go, like, that's it.
Yes.
And I get that. I really do. A little part of me feels that way now where I'm like, everyone's like, okay, well, you just date. Like, how are we going to do? And I'm like, oh my God, just the idea of of shaving.
No.
I shaved for you. Okay.
We both waxed our beards
I waxed
for each other.
Not just my beard, my whole fucking face. And I did for the first time in my life a nose waxing. Have you done this?
I have, and it's extremely painful. And I so much so did it online on IG Live in the pandemic.
Oh, well.
Like you put the wax in your nostril, and
Yes, I don't think it was painful.
it was not. It actually feels good.
It feels great. I could breathe, but now I'm just like dripping snot.
Yes.
Directly. I've got like 3 pimples raging, just ready to come out right
get
here.
it.
It is.
And
Woof.
the worst part is when you realize, just like anything else, okay, now more hair has grown there because
has
I
it? Oh,
waxed.
really?
And when your husband is plucking your nostril hair at the airport, and you're like, don't fucking do that.
Isn't
Don't
that
touch
cute?
me.
I know. I had one, I remember like 10 years ago, I had one and I was still like, oh, like I'm still a girl with Adam. You know what I mean? I was like, I
Yes.
wasn't shitting in front of him yet.
No,
I
I've
may-
never. No,
I may
I'm not
have been.
doing that ever.
Oh, I did since day one. But I was raised like that, okay? We had like 10 girls shoved into a bathroom
Yes.
smoking cigarettes, taking a shit. Like that's, but I remember we were walking through like a Walmart or something and he yanked a 2-inch hair out of my shoulder. I was like, oh,
Wow.
rough, fucking rough. But yeah.
Well, I want to know, you mentioned your father and your mother.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know that was how they met?
They were open and honest since day one. He had 2 sons from the previous marriage, so it wasn't like he could hide anything.
Yeah, but he could have said, this is my ex-wife, you know? And
We
but-
never met her. She,
Oh, okay.
she refused. It was acrimonious as fuck. Like,
Okay.
she was devastated.
Wow.
Yeah, horrible. And I think, and I could be making this up. I don't think I am, though. My dad told my mom was like, listen, you got to shit or get off the pot because I love you
Right.
and whatever. And he was like, I have a wife and kids and I'm going to stay with them. And so think the story is she left to go on tour with the Beatles manager.
I believe it.
Started banging the Beatles manager
Your
or
mom's
something.
still gorgeous.
She's pretty hot. Not gonna lie. She aged well. And now thanks to Mounjaro, everyone's frighteningly thin.
Thin.
So saggy, but thin. But yeah, and then when she got back, he was on her doorstep.
Wow.
He was like, I left. I'm in love with you. Like,
And
let's
then
build a life.
They had three
And then they
daughters.
had 3 daughters. Right.
And you're the baby.
I'm the baby.
And
I was an accident baby.
Oh, okay.
So, right. So they had Amy and Jen were planned.
Okay.
The 2 sisters. And then I came along 7 years later.
Wow.
In a whoopsie.
And a lot of people may or may not know what was really interesting is also your sister was our boss.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Okay. So, right. I got out of college with a degree in comparative lit and philosophy. So
brilliant.
Nothing. Fucking nothing. Okay. And and just a raging alcoholic. I graduated with a empty bottle of plastic bottle of Tito's
genetics.
on my
I don't know how you drink as much as you do.
Oh,
You're fine.
I don't anymore.
I can't. I could never keep up.
I'll die. I couldn't keep up. I was just
like
sloppy
brown
and
person.
didn't mind being sloppy. That was my whole shtick. I was like, that's all right. I can be a disaster.
No.
Yes, that was. Yeah. So I didn't know what to do, and I got a job. Jen hooked me up with a job in fashion, being the receptionist and like personal assistant to a fucking nightmare maniac that used to like make me pick him up from like a sweaty club at 3 a.m. and like carry him over my shoulder to his house. Right. So he used to like throw phones at me. And then I was like, this isn't going. And Jen was like, I'll just hire you. Just come here. Like, that's it. And I was like, okay.
Yes.
Great. Because again, zero ambition, but I'm very
brilliant.
No, not even really, just capable. So I joke around all the time. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. Okay, I'm really capable of doing it. I can build you a fucking house. It's going to be gross. You're going to get rained on. Okay, but it will be standing.
You will have a home.
You will have a home. Right, exactly. So I kind of just taught myself what I needed to learn and then stayed there for 100 years because I don't leave and
you
I don't
became
try.
the graphic designer.
And I became the graphic designer.
And I joined in there, and as miserable as everyone says it was, I loved it there.
I
thrived, and everyone has gone back.
Right, everyone.
Okay? Me and you will not go back.
No, well,
I'm like, Susan, you are not going back.
I'm not going back. And not because I don't love Jen or because I don't love everyone. Really, Rosa's still there. I love my Rosa.
Onward and upward. I don't go back to the past.
Right.
But those were some of the best years of my life. I've said it many times.
They were, but it was also about the camaraderie and
the people, the women.
Fun,
it's
right?
all women. It's fun.
Right.
It was a different time also, pre-COVID, different. But I also want to mention you were the baby and you took care of your father when he was dying.
Took care of my father. I took care of my grandfather. I stayed home instead of going and sort of living my life, which I feel was expected and I didn't mind.
Yeah.
And like my sisters are always like, God, I can't believe it. And I'm like, it's fine. Like that's what you do. It's just what you do.
Yeah,
period.
but you did the most.
No, they didn't do anything.
That's what I'm saying. And even I bring up Jen, your sister, being our boss because even there at work, you took care of Jen as well.
I did.
You know?
But
you're just always taking care of people. You took care of me.
That's what
You took care
good
of
at.
me. And mind you, when I lived in New York, I didn't have family here.
Right.
You know, and my boyfriend at the time did not live here. He lived in DC. So you were like family. If there was an emergency or anything happened, like you were my emergency contact. And
I love it. It's the only thing that gets me out of bed.
I think you're so amazing, and I want you to finally put yourself out there because so many people are going to love you. But I want to get back to Adam.
Yeah.
And we were all over the place, but that is good because there was a lot to discuss and how we got here in the past. So now we've established we used to work together.
Right.
We were like family. And now you meet Adam when you're 25. How did you meet him? And give us the timeline. Like, when did you live together? All of it.
Such a slutty story. Okay. I was casually having sex with his best friend.
I knew this, but
You did?
people want to know.
They do. And there was a ghosting situation. So we stopped speaking. And then
Why did you stop speaking? Did he like you or something? Or were you dating both?
No. He liked me. I liked him for a little bit. And then I don't remember. It's sort of, I fizzled out. I don't know.
And then you slept with his friend.
Well, then I went to, we had a lot of mutual friends in common. So I went to a bar with a bunch of these friends. He called one of my friends and found out I was there and then sort of stalked me and brought Adam. And that was the night I met Adam.
Okay.
Not great. Okay. Doesn't reflect super well on me.
No one, look,
but
he was part of the roster.
He was, and he was smart, and I thought he was funny and fun and kind of nasty and conceited, but big.
And he's only ever been kind to me. I remember when I was in Miami, when I had moved back home, and we were doing family karma and stuff, like, he was hosting these massive events at Art Basel, and he got me into every hot event. Like, he didn't have to do that. Like, he's always been generous and kind.
He's like that, period. Even now. He's, you know what I mean? There are a couple of stories. I don't know if I should go into them.
We'll get there. But I want to know, you bring up the morbidly obese.
Right.
And that didn't deter you from anything. You didn't care. You loved him.
It didn't, because yes, I loved him, but I also think I am a Freudian nightmare. And my father was also a brilliant man, morbidly obese, and kind of a dick. So, but again, charming and sort of crass, elegant, funny,
and
like
cultured.
Good and super cultured. And yeah, so I married my father, who was kind of a nightmare. And I was like, oh, it's definitely going to be different this time. For sure. This go around, he's going to be great.
You don't know. We don't know. It lasted a long time. We still don't know what's going to happen. We're getting there.
I know what's going to happen.
Okay. So then you date him. You're 25.
So I
you
date him.
You
we
meet
move
him.
in after like a month.
Really? Immediately?
Yeah.
So you've been living with Adam since you were 25 as well. It wasn't like you dated and...
No.
And did you have any breakups?
Yeah, we had one major break. I mean, we had like daily breakups, you know, and like a fucking fit where I was like, I'm out of here. I'm going to pack all my shit.
And that's just life in your 20s.
Right. So,
just mad all the time.
Just like get on a train and be like, I don't know. I'm just going to.
You're like, I'm leaving, but you're really leaving.
I'm just going to go uptown. And so.
Oh, and you're born and raised in the city.
I am born and raised in the city.
Okay.
So we had one major breakup because he said he was vocal about not really wanting kids or marriage. And I was like, well, I do. So.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, peace the fuck out. Like, I'm gone. And I moved back in with my mother for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks. And at that time, we were living a block away. So I was on 85th and my mom was on 86th. And one day, my friend Sam came over and I was in a mood and I was like, we're going to shroom right fucking now.
Right.
And you don't have a choice. So I'm just going to shove it down your throat. And we had a lovely trip and we walked around and we wound up back at the apartment because I was like, fuck this. This is my apartment too.
Yes.
I want to grab my shit. We walked in and this man was butt naked, fucking spread eagle on the couch sleeping, and woke up in like a panic. And poor Sam. And we talked it out and he was like, I don't care. We'll get married. We'll have kids. Like,
really? He just like decided.
Yep. He was like, I love you enough. I want to, right. That was the
love.
Right. Was it I love you enough or was it I probably can't do any better because I'm like,
no,
300 plus pounds? And
no.
Maybe.
I disagree. But we're having a factual conversation.
Yeah.
You did, that thought crossed your mind that maybe he's with me.
Oh my God.
Because he can't do better.
Almost
and
every
you're
day.
So gorgeous. And you still thought that.
Every day.
And
That's
he
so
was the
sweet.
one who was medically morbidly obese.
Yeah.
And you still thought that he's just with me because he thinks he can't do better.
Right.
So would you say you had some low self-esteem?
I feel.
I'm like, okay.
I feel like, yes, I feel like women in general devalue themselves, and I feel like
I
there's
hate myself. That's why I haven't gotten to where I want to be.
Right. And there's definitely
daily
like a 7-year-old girl in me that's just like hysterically crying every day.
Yeah, all of
hidden
us.
deep inside. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a nightmare. It's all a nightmare. And I feel like, okay, so this is so
But you loved him.
I did. I really loved him. Why I loved him? It's a good question. Maybe I loved him a little bit because he did make me feel like shit. Maybe I felt like I deserved that.
Was he verbally abusive then? Because I don't ever recall that.
It wasn't verbal abuse. There was just maybe a little verbally abusive, just in terms of like saying little jabs, little things.
Passive aggressive.
A little bit, sort of like calling out like my family and my friends and just being kind of like nasty and flippant and not sensitive and, putting down my job and putting down,
Okay.
in like what almost seemed like a supportive husband way and like, well, this sucks and you don't make enough money, so get the fuck out of there.
Right.
You know what I mean? But still like, but that was like, that's my life.
That was our life. Like,
right.
And it was making us happy.
Right. And like, oh, your friends treat you like shit. I'm like, my friends don't treat me like shit. Do my friends treat me like shit?
I don't know any of your friends that treat you like shit.
None of my friends treat me like shit.
That's why I was like, they all, if anything, love you. And you are like the people's person.
Right. So
like,
it's just very weird.
You're the only white person I know with as many friends of, what is it, people of color like me.
I do.
You have, like, I don't know someone who has so many friends of different races.
I do love the Browns.
You do.
All of the Browns.
But coming from Miami, it was the first time leaving somewhere that was all like brown. And New York's different too because it's all like Indian, so I've never felt that. But to meet someone like, can I say waspy?
Yeah.
Can I say waspy? Someone waspy who had that many friends who were people of color, including me. And I was like, okay, this woman's legit. And like ride or die for those friends.
Yeah.
And knowing your white privilege.
Oh, yeah. But also, I mean, my favorite thing to do is exploit my white privilege.
And to help your friends, though.
Yeah, it's the best.
And so, was your family ever confused with why you were with this person, Adam? Because you're like waspy, white, blonde hair, blue eyes, and Adam is Egyptian.
He is Egyptian.
I mean, he would look Caucasian from any angle, but like he's Egyptian at the end of the day.
Yeah.
His name is Egyptian. It's very Arab. What did your family think?
Nothing.
Really? So they were progressive white people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, yes. There's no...
Yeah. Because I saw a meme that said no one hates brown people more than brown people.
Right.
So like my family would have been like, you are not marrying an Egyptian. I'm like, they're brown.
Right. My father's best friend was Jeffrey Holder, who was a super influential artist, choreographer, actor, in a time, like he choreographed the first run of The Wiz.
Yeah.
He, was Punjab and Annie. I grew up around a lot of like really strong, powerful brown people. So no, it didn't really
and there
have
was,
any bearing.
and I guess he was more progressive. Like he didn't have any traits.
Hang-ups. No. You mean Adam or my dad?
Adam.
Oh. Adam's more
he
progressive.
wasn't that like typical like patriarchal man. Like where I come from.
He's a little bit.
Like that was my father, who I love, my dad, and he's different with me than he is with my mom.
Right. So I think that my dad, there's a little misogyny there. I think that there has to be when you're a man of a certain age.
And that era, the boomers.
Exactly. He's older than boomers. So he was 63 when he had me. He was a German Jew in World War II. Like, he was old. So, yes, I think that there always a level of misogyny. And I think Adam has a level of misogyny. There were things that he used to say when we first started dating, like women aren't funny. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Things that every guy that we grew up with said.
Every guy, even now, even the younger men.
Right.
They're saying all of this stuff too.
Right.
So it's just ingrained in the culture.
It is. And it's ingrained in us. Okay, so that's the problem. Hear it enough, and it's funny. So I have two sons, and my son Jamie, who's 3 years old, has apraxia, which is the muscles in his mouth are underdeveloped, and that's a whole story we can go into later.
Into that, yeah.
Right, but like a very, can I call my son hot? He's like a hot kid. Okay, so he's got the hair, and he's got the eyes, and he's got the lips, and he's like so cool in his leather jacket, but motherfucker doesn't speak. Okay?
He's nonverbal.
He's not completely nonverbal, but he's nonverbal. I mean, to all intents and purposes, nonverbal. He's now just started really having language.
Okay.
So he's a rough and tumble kid. He's a pusher. He's a grabber. He's going to take your toy. He's going to push you down. And all these little girls are like, I fucking like juicing over this kid.
They want the bad boy.
Oh my God. Okay. It's like, oh, he's treating me like shit. That's what I want. They're 3. Okay. They're like, oh, you're going to take my shit and push me down and like kick me in the stomach. And I am going to fall madly in love with you.
It's like my husband. He dumped me 3 times, the way to my heart.
Into it.
My mom, I remember my mom was like, don't hurt him, because she saw him as this like sweet, innocent like man. And then when he dumped me, and then for the 3rd time, I realized that's when you know you love someone, and I had never felt that before.
Right.
I was like, okay, I love this person because they've dumped me now for the 3rd time because they don't know what they're doing with their own life.
Right.
Like nothing to do with me.
Right.
But I took him back. The old me would have been like, fuck off, and I would have been done. But I was like, this guy's giving me a run for my money.
But it's also really amazing that you can recognize that it wasn't about you.
I know that.
That is an impossible thing. It's really hard not to internalize.
It's because so many guys rejected me for so many years because of either the TV show or my age, because I come from a patriarchal culture.
Right.
Even my generation, people born and raised in America still had their old school hang-ups.
Right.
And it was depressing. And so I knew if I didn't know that it wasn't me, then I'd be like suicidal. Like, it's not me, it's them.
No. It's just funny because that's exactly how I felt. So the whole thing happened with Adam. You know what I mean? This whole thing happened with my husband, and my first thought again was, people are going to pity me.
We're getting there, Susan. You're jumping.
Think? Oh, I'm jumping. Oh, but I was just going to say, because I was like, oh my god, am I suicidal? Yeah. And then what changed was I was like, what is it about me? And I was like, but wait. What is it about him? Like, what don't I like about him?
And women need to start asking themselves, instead of questioning ourselves, like, what's his problem? Because 99% of the time, it's not the woman.
No, it's not. But that's the whole point. I am dope. I'm a good mother.
Exactly.
I am a good person.
You're an amazing mother.
I'm fine. Like, there's nothing about me where it's like, oh, he had to go.
Anyone would be lucky to have you.
Thanks, babe.
Yes, and me as well.
Uh-huh.
Because so many, even when I got married, my parents, everybody, God bless them, but they were like, he's so nice, you're so lucky. I'm not lucky. Actually, he's lucky.
Right.
But society, men and women tend to do that. They're like, oh, thank God, like someone rescued you. It's like,
I know.
I'm saving him. It's really
know.
weird. As a society, as women, we're just like made to feel like we're supposed to be grateful.
Dog shit.
Yeah.
But also, but that's what I mean about Jamie. It's like he has
son.
3 girlfriends. Yeah, sorry, my son Jamie. He has 3 girlfriends. When none of them are at school, girls line up to give him presents and hugs.
Cute.
It's fucked up. It's not cute. It's wrong.
Because he's a bad boy.
Because he's a dick.
Well, he's nonverbal.
He's a dick. Okay, he broke my sternum. He's just a rough and tumble, just, you know what I mean? He doesn't know.
Yes,
it is whatever. Know. But he's a dude. He's all id. He's like a feral animal. And these little girls are like 40-year-old women by the age of 3. And they're like,
it starts young.
I have a lot of emotional maturity. And what I want is that little fuck who can't speak, who hits me a lot. Like, why do you, like, what?
No.
There's one little girl, it's horrible. There's one little girl in his class that has a feeding tube because she's anxiety.
Okay.
It's common. Kids who have anxiety control their surroundings through, usually it's either food or poop.
Okay.
So they can hold in their poop and they cannot eat food.
Wow.
Right. So she had a feeding tube and she was so scared of Jamie. She was so scared of Jamie that she would come into class and throw up when she saw him, and she wouldn't be able to get any more food down because she wasn't home with her equipment, etc. I was like, oh my God. I was like, what the fuck
Like
am I going to do?
this child is starving because
of my son. Right, exactly. And then 2 weeks later, they're holding hands. She's giving him kisses on the cheek. She's giving him presents. I'm like, okay. Listen, sweet, sweet, sweet little princess that you are. Run as fast as possible. He's not going to make it better. He's going to make it worse.
And you're also speaking to the people right now in that situation.
Oh my God.
Because many women are.
Oh, Jesus. It's like this guy that didn't want me now wants me. So that validates me. So that means that I feel only through somebody else's eyes can I feel validated for the person that I am.
Right.
It's like, oh my God.
It's true.
Three.
Starting at 3 years old, guys.
Right. Okay, so back to Adam.
Back to Adam.
Back to the original.
Back to the original. And then
we moved in together. We were living with two of his friends in Kensington. Last stop
and
off
he
the
had
G.
nothing.
He had nothing. I was making more than him at that point. He was making $30,000 a year. But again, I never really cared about money. And it's probably because of my white privilege and because I'm the baby and because I've gotten away with everything my entire life and I'm a borderline brat. And I just assume that things are going to work out.
And that's the mindset to have, which is why things always work out.
Do they always work out?
Yes, they do. They do.
Okay, because I just spent 15 years with a 40-year-old narcissist who's now drowning in his own reflection. Do they work out?
We'll find out.
We'll
Stay
find out.
tuned.